Hey there, everyone, and welcome to Pour and Explore, a wine, food, and travel podcast. I'm your host, Nick Elliott, the wine guy. I'd love to be your go-to guide for all things wine, food, and the amazing places they take us. Here on Pour and Explore, we'll sip, savor, and wander through the exciting world of wine, discuss incredible cuisines, and uncover the stories behind unforgettable destinations. Each week, I'll bring you lively conversations with wine experts, chefs, travel pros, and fellow enthusiasts. We'll share practical tips, hilarious tales, and plenty of inspiration to fuel your next adventure. So grab a glass, pull up a chair, and join me as we pour, explore, and celebrate the good life. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pour and Explore, the podcast where we sip, savor, and stroll our way through the world of wine, food, and travel. I'm the wine guy, Nick Elliott, chef, certified sommelier, former winemaker, and today I am bringing you a flavorful conversation that's packed with heart, heat, and a whole lot of spice. I'm joined today by the incredible Lisa Maloney. She is the founder of Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff. Lisa's journey started in the most personal of ways, advocating for her daughter's health. And it evolved into a mission to make healthy, salt-free, flavor-packed spice blends that everyone can use and enjoy. We talk about what inspired her line, how she develops her blends, and the power of food as medicine, and how you don't need a recipe or a culinary degree to cook something delicious. So if you've ever looked at your spice cabinet and thought, meh, this episode is for you, so let's get into it.
Lisa, thank you so very much for being on the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's wonderful to be here, Nick. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, this is a special episode. I've been playing around with your spices, and I'm really, really excited to learn more about them myself as a chef and to let my audience know about these amazing things that you're doing. So let's start with this. What is the story between Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff?
Well, there definitely is a story. It really starts with my youngest daughter, Morgan, when she was born over 30 years ago, because I was actually a returning college student at the time, and I thought I wanted to become a psychologist. And that's what I was, starting to get my general education out of the way. She was born with a really rare congenital disorder that only 55 people in the world had at the time that she was born. It's called congenital selective glucose and galactose malabsorption. She was seriously ill, and doctors just did not know what was wrong with her. And so it's a very rare metabolic disorder. So we, as a family, just started looking around. Luckily, she was born in Southern California because there was a lot of really good hospitals in the area. And we were going to all of those hospitals trying to find answers for our daughter. And as it turns out, it really changed the trajectory of my entire life, because not only did I pivot and, get into nutrition and food science, but it was just a long, hard battle just to save her life and to be able to see her thrive. The first 5.5 months of her life, Nick, she was in and out of the hospital 115 days.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And she had what's called a central line. That was really the only way that she could eat. So she wasn't really taking anything by mouth. They were kind of bypassing that until they figured out what was wrong with her. And then she was able to graduate onto a fructose-based, soy-based formula after that she was able to tolerate. After going to UCLA and Children's Hospital of Orange County, we determined that she really needed to be on more of like a keto style diet. To this day, that's basically how she has to live her life. And lo and behold, even though it was such a really rare thing, there was a doctor at UCLA that was finishing up medical school and everything. And he's got his, he's an MD at this point. Mm-hmm. This is probably like 8 years ago, because I kept loosely in touch with UCLA all these years. And so they reached out to me to say, look, we've got some grant money to study GGM. It's called congenital selective glucose and galactose malabsorption, but it's such a mouthful that they have an acronym called GGM.
Yeah.
And they said that we're going to be doing a study and we would like you to be a part of it, because of your background and the fact that you've raised a daughter that's had GGM or that has GGM. And we would like your daughter to be one of our test subjects. So as it turned out, at like 25 and a half years old at the time, she was the oldest person. So they were thrilled to have her because a lot of the people that were participating, and it was a very small study, they were mostly like really young kids. We actually got it published. And so my name is actually on a white paper with UCLA. So that's my claim to fame, as they
Love
say.
that.
But before that, or actually I should say after that, after I got my nutrition degree and everything from Chapman University, and I went on to go into the K through 12 industry. And that's really where I started focusing on my spices, because back in 2010, when the Obamas came into office, they made a lot of dramatic changes to the K through 12 industry, to the meal pattern, one of which was significantly reducing the sodium that was in all the meals that we were feeding the kids. But I thought, we don't want to serve them food that tastes like cardboard. We serve food that's flavorful and healthy and, with robust flavors to go with them. So I just started putting my thinking cap on and I thought, well, this is what the problem is. And, I want to find an answer to that. So my answer to that was Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff custom spice blends. And I wanted to create something that, is very healthy. So they're sodium free, they're allergen free, they're gluten free, they are vegan, MSG free, they're sustainable, and they're also kosher. But they are very packed with flavor.
Yes, they are.
Oh, well, thank you. And I wanted to create flavor profiles that were going to be applicable for almost any kind of food that you want to put them with.
Yep.
I didn't want it to just be like a steak seasoning, or this is for popcorn, or this, what I mean, for like individual foods. I wanted my flavors to be as universal as possible. And I also wanted them to be applicable for everyday users, and then also for the commercial industry, such as yours, and then also for retail.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the brainchild, behind everything that I did. And then from there, I really started creating a lot of recipes. I don't know if you've been out on my website or not, but I do have about 50 recipes that I created myself. Those are not stock photos. Those are Lisa Maloney photos. And those are things that I've worked on and, tried to perfect over the years. And then I also use professional software that a lot of people in the nutrition industry use to determine like the fat, the calories, the protein, the sodium per serving. So that way the consumer knows that. But since then, in talking with a lot of my customers, they tell me that I really like you. I really like your spices. I'm really glad I bought them, but I still don't feel comfortable enough in the kitchen to actually utilize a recipe. So I've gotten it down to what I consider to be a science, meaning that they can just shake my spices on just like you would salt and pepper.
Right.
Or you can make it really easy. And to give you a really quick example, when it comes to either tangy garlic onion, smoky barbecue, and chipotle spice, you could take basically any piece of meat, poultry, fish, beans, and have one or two tofu, like vegan dishes out there. And you can basically just coat the piece of meat with oil and then put any of those spices on there or any combination thereof, because a lot of people will use tangy garlic onion with the smoky barbecue or tangy garlic onion and the chipotle spice because they dovetail quite nicely. And then you could either put it in the air fryer, the barbecue, the oven, whatever cooking method that you prefer. And you're really not even using a recipe. You're just whipping it up. And I do a lot of that myself too.
Yeah, absolutely. You can take, any piece of protein, whether it's chicken or beef or pork or fish, and just add a little bit of your spice to it. Let it marinate for, maybe an hour, something like that, with a little oil, as you mentioned. I always like to, put a little acid in my marinade with my spice as well to help it absorb into the protein a little bit. And that protein, once it's cooked, you can put that on anything, make a sandwich out of it, serve it with rice and a salad or whatever it's going to be. You do not need to be chef tell to to cook with this stuff. So I think it's very, very cool. And it really is delicious. I've been playing around with it for the last couple of months since we first met, and I'm really excited about the possibilities in my kitchen as a chef. It's really, really nice. And the fact that it's so clean too, and not overly salty, because that is, of course, a big thing with the store-bought spices is they're just loaded with salt, especially if it says salt, on the label.
I've really noticed that a lot too. There's a lot more additives and a lot more salt in the spices, other spices than I realize. But that's not to say I'm not here to try to demonize salt or tell people not to use it. I'm just trying to let people know that with my spices, you're paying for high quality custom spice blends. You can add your own salt or not.
Exactly. Yep.
And I have met quite a few people that have bought my spices that tell me that, I'm very sodium sensitive and my doctor wants me to cut back on salt. So these spices are ideal for me. I would be amiss if I didn't mention this. I just learned this recently and I was really, really dumbfounded. It was an article from the Environmental Protection Agency.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that most of the salt that's like the Morton salt and stuff like that, they're mining it out of the ocean. And I didn't know that. Even being in the food industry, I was like, oh, okay. And so even after they're treating it at high temperature, Nick, and then bleaching it and all that and deodorizing it and everything, guess what's still left inside of that salt? Microplastics.
Yeah.
And as we all know, unfortunately, and I'm sad and sorry to say it, that the ocean has become a dumping ground for microplastics.
Yep.
And so we're ingesting those. And I thought, you know what? All the more reason, that I'm grateful that I don't have salt in my spices. So people can have like a higher quality salt and not have to use like the Morton salt and things of that nature.
Yeah, definitely. And playing around with your spices, I've used with the garlic onion, for example, instead of using actual salt, use a little bit of soy sauce or mirin. It adds that hint of saltiness that you don't get with the spices, if you need that, of course. Salt and pepper in the States, that's our go-to, but it's always optional. It's always optional,
Right. I wanted to ask you too, because you had mentioned that you typically let yours marinate with a little bit of acid. So are you talking about like lemon juice or vinegar, or what do you typically use?
Yeah, absolutely. Vinegar, definitely. Apple cider vinegar and champagne vinegar are my go-tos when it comes to making marinades. And then, of course, any type of citrus juice is going to do really, really great. Depending on what you're making. If you're going with the garlic onion, I would definitely use lemon juice. That would just be my preference, depending on what it is. The recipe that I'm going to talk about in just a minute with the chipotle, I use lime juice because it's more of a Mexican flair, so acid always helps break down the proteins. So it's always a great idea to add a little bit of acid to your marinade if you're making a homemade marinade, of course.
Right. Now, one of my recipes, I don't know if you saw this one, but I do have a really good chipotle potato salad recipe out there. And that one has lime juice in it. And then I also have a salad dressing that I make with mayonnaise and ketchup. And then you break the emulsion a little bit with lime juice. And I think I have like cream or milk or something like that. And then the chipotle, and it's really nice.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to talk about potato salad in just a few minutes, but I do want to talk about this amazing spice right here. This is the first one that I tried. This is the chipotle spice, and oh my goodness, it is delicious. Give us a couple of quick bullet points about the chipotle spice before we shoot over to the cooking demo on our first recipe.
Okay, great. I'd love to do that. Well, chipotle spice is definitely my spice that has the most kick to it, if you will. But it's not overly spicy, only because I balance it out with a little bit of sugar. So it has like all the different peppers and everything in there to give it that robust flavor. But I don't want it to just be all hot on somebody's palate or on their tongue. So I purposely balance it out with a little bit of sugar to help mellow it out a little bit. But it's a very versatile spice, and it's good, as I had mentioned, like a dry rub, and I've used it on poultry, on fish, beef, and pork. And then, like I said, usually what I'll do for something really quick and easy is just putting the oil on there and then just coating whatever piece of meat you have and the chipotle. And the same goes for vegetables and potatoes too. My favorite way to eat vegetables is to roast them. And it can be so easy. Same thing. You just take, carrots, potatoes, zucchini, whatever the case may be, cauliflower, cut them up in pieces, or you can even buy them already cut up in pieces. I usually use olive oil, and then I, roll it in the chipotle and then just roast it in the oven. But again, you could cook it any way that you want. I mean, you could boil them, you could boil, bake, air fry, barbecue, whatever the case may be. Aiolis would be great with them too. And then chipotle spice, like already finished products, Nick, such as like ketchup. You could add chipotle spice to ketchup, a nice kick. And they're also really good, hence the name Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff. I started all my experiments on French fries, actually. I was thinking about the schools and everything, but, my spices are fantastic on French fries. And that would be the tangy garlic onion and the chipotle and the smoky barbecue. They're fantastic. So you can either bake them or fry them. And then even afterwards, you can sprinkle them on there. And it just gives them an elevated look, an elevated flavor. It's like if you're in a restaurant or something, you typically don't get that. You just get like French fries and then ketchup on the side. With mine, it just, gives it like a whole new flavor, a whole new look, and just takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah, starting with a clean slate like a potato or a French fry, definitely a great way to really enjoy the spice. So the recipe that I created for the chipotle is smoky lime shrimp skewers. So mixing the lime juice and your chipotle seasoning with a little bit of olive oil and putting those shrimps on skewers, roasting them on the barbecue. Absolutely fantastic. So we're going to shoot over and show everyone this amazing video right now, and we'll be right back.
I want to show you how easy it is to do a marinade with this amazing chipotle spice from Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff. I took a little shrimp. We're going to marinate them in extra virgin olive oil and a little bit of lime juice. We're going to throw them on a skewer, toss them on the grill, and they're going to come out so beautifully and golden brown. Oh man, this is so good. Pops of flavor in every space. I decided I'm going to make a little taco tonight with these. You can throw them on a salad, whatever you'd like to do. Let's do some fresh corn tortillas. We're going to add a little beautiful cilantro, fresh cilantro on top of this, some sliced jalapenos, and oh my, one of my favorite hot sauces in the world, Zab's as well. You can do just about anything with these shrimp. So Spicy Spuds, enjoy.
All right, fantastic. I hope everyone enjoyed that little demo right there. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. I'm ready to go out.
I'm coming over.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the mission of Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff. For someone who's never tried your blends, overall, how would you describe the experience?
I would say that my spices, like I had mentioned when we first started the conversation, that they're applicable for so many different types of food that it's really hard to find something that at least one of my spices doesn't work for. So you take, whatever type of food that you're making, and it's so easy to incorporate at least one of my blends into that food, to elevate it to the next level and to create something, fun and new and exciting and healthy.
100%. I completely agree with you, and I've been following along, with all of the great things that this can do, and I've experienced it firsthand, in my own kitchen. So I think there's a lot of great stuff out there, and some great experimentation, that you can do with these things. When I think about salt-free cooking, before I met you. When I think about salt-free cooking, I think about lack of flavor. I think about one-dimensional, kind of thing. What is the biggest misconception about cooking salt-free?
Well, first and foremost, like I said, it doesn't have to be salt-free. I just don't want my customers to have to pay for sodium, because that's a fantastic way for all the manufacturers to help bring the price down and inevitably increase the flavor. So it takes a lot more, in my mind, a lot more skill, a lot more finesse, to create flavors that don't have any salt that can stand on their own without having the salt added to them. So for me, Nick, some foods I actually like, really bland foods. I'll just be honest with you. I typically always add some salt to like potatoes, corn, and beans and eggs.
Sure. Yeah.
Those four things I typically always do. But, some of the meats and the vegetables and some of the other things that I do, I taste it and it's like, I don't even really need salt. So it just depends on the actual food itself. But for people that are salt, sodium or not, it's ideal. And then you can just add your own salt. And I would advise people to not use the Morton salt. I would definitely, invest in, like, just to give you some ideas, I use Colima sea salt, and then I use gray salt, and some of the other more, I don't want to say exotic salts, but something that's not typically mined out of the ocean, so that way you don't have to worry about the microplastics and things of that nature. So
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if someone's going to take the step to buy your spices that are, clean, GMO-free, salt-free, and so on, I would think those same people would go out and source a better salt option for themselves in their kitchen. So I agree. I would definitely highly, highly recommend that to all the listeners out there. Which of your blends do you wind up reaching for the most in your own kitchen?
Other people have asked me that question too, and I kind of switch it up. Sometimes I'll be like, I'm on a spice, or I'm on a smoky barbecue kick, or I'm on a dessert spice kick, or something like that. So I just keep experimenting and trying new things, and I also love it when my customers come up with new ideas as well, because I can't think of everything, so I love it when people tell me, oh, I put dessert spice in my coffee, or oh, I coat my bacon with smoky barbecue. It's like, who knew? That's why I'm so excited to be connected to you, being a chef and everything, because I know that you're going to have ideas that I, probably wouldn't have dreamed of in a lifetime. So, I love all the, the things that you're coming up with. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you. I'm so glad we were able to meet, and I've had the pleasure of using your products in my own kitchen, and it's really been great. Speaking of smoky barbecue, that's what we're going to talk about next. The recipe that I came up with after some experimentation, I used bratwurst sausage and did something a little bit different, easy, something that you can literally throw in either your Instant Pot or in the oven. I did a barbecue bean and sausage casserole. Super, super easy. It takes about 10 minutes to put together, using your spice, sticking it in the oven, and cooking it off. I was absolutely surprised how delicious it came out. Tell us a little bit about the base of the smoky barbecue.
Smoky barbecue was by far the most difficult spice for me to, I don't want to say perfect, because, perfect is kind of a dangerous word. But my goal for smoky barbecue was to create like a barbecue potato chip flavor. That's what I was really trying to do. And again, there is a lot of overlap, as far as the applications go, like with Chipotle. So, it's going to be good for fish and poultry, beef and pork, but of course also beans. I mean, like barbecue beans and things of that nature. And then of course, potatoes and vegetables. And then also you can add it to ketchup as well. And then you can add the barbecue flavor to it. And then of course, sprinkling it on French fries or something like that too, because it definitely gives it that, red, robust color and flavor, and just, helps to elevate your food.
Yeah, and to your point, that's exactly what I did. I made my barbecue base out of ketchup and your spice, and that was the base of the beans, like a baked bean type flavor, but definitely up-leveled, a whole lot with the addition of the bratwurst sausage. Super, super, again, easy meal to make. With the smoky barbecue, you got to check this out. We're going to shoot over to the demo recipe right now, and we'll come back in just a minute.
All right, we're going to start this recipe off with some great ingredients from some of my favorite places, like Imperfect Foods, Trader Joe's, of course, this beautiful seasoning from Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff. We're going to start with some onions, chop that up, large dice. Let's chop up that sausage again, large dice, and we're going to get these things sauteing up on the stove. Get those
onions nice and golden brown with a little extra virgin olive oil. Go ahead and reduce those down. Get your sausage in there, get a nice caramelization on those onions and that sausage. Give them a good stir and get those nice and beautiful brown. Next thing you do, we're going to add our Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff barbecue seasoning and get that flavor going in there. Again, get everything nice and caramelized. Now, while these onions and sausages are reducing down, we're going to get some beautiful caramelization color and amazing depth of flavor in here. Now we're going to add our beans. We're going to use some Great Northern beans. That's typically what we put into baked beans. And of course, I'm going to add some of my favorite black beans into this recipe as well. And again, using the liquid from the cans, we're going to start reducing that down. And what's going to happen is we're going to get this real thick, rich sauce. I'm just going to add a tiny splash of barbecue sauce in there. Of course, maple syrup for just a little bit of sweetness. And we have to counteract that sweetness with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. We're going to keep on reducing these down and bake at 225. And at 225, this is going to be nice and low and slow for a good 3 hours. We're going to cook this down until we start to reduce that liquid. Things are getting thick and rich and delicious. And this is what we come up with. Beautiful, hearty stew made with beans and sausage, some caramelized onions, and I decided that I wanted to add little veggies to this, so I sauteed up some spinach. We're going to add that right on the top, and we're going to finish this dish with a little shredded cheddar cheese, and voila, folks, Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff barbecue seasoning, absolutely delicious. Well, I hope your mouth is watering as much as mine is after watching that one. That was a really fun, easy recipe to whip up. Again, you can do that in 10 minutes at the beginning of your day. Stick it in the crock pot is a great way to go about it, or put it in the oven when you get home from work. It'll be done in about 45 minutes. Really delicious recipe. So I'm glad that I was able to try that one out. You know, for someone who's trying to eat healthier, and this is an overall question beyond your spices. For someone who's trying to eat healthier without sacrificing flavor, where should they start?
I used to have a nutrition consulting business after I graduated from college, and a customer of mine actually asked me, will you please help me go shopping at the grocery store because I want to do better, but I don't know how to do that. And so that actually started a thing, where I would actually meet somebody at wherever they normally shop, whether it's Smith's or Trader Joe's or this or that. And I would take them on a little shopping journey and just point out things, along the way. But in general, Nick, I would have to say when you're at the grocery store, you want to go to the outer perimeter of the store because that's where you're going to find more of the whole foods. And there are conveniences that I take advantage of myself. And one of those would be like lettuce that's already cut up in the bag in the modified atmosphere packaging, vegetables that are already cut up. So if you don't want to cut them up yourself, you can definitely already do that, or even some of the fruits. So you just take those home and then you just, like I said, put the oil on them and then whatever spice that you want, and then just whatever cooking method, tickles your fancy. And then it's just so easy to prepare because you don't want to tell people to do something that's going to be a lot more difficult for them. You want it to be easy for them. And one thing I've learned, especially from going to some of these chain restaurants and stuff, I'm so glad that they have this information out there. They'll have like the fat, the calories, the sodium. And I'm just sitting there thinking, do I really want to eat this? Because that's like more than the amount of calories and fat and sugar and salt you should be having in a whole day that's in one plate of food.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to make it applicable and feasible and easy for people, or they're just not going to do it. So I really do try to listen to what people tell me and the struggles that they're having, and to have the answers for them at a very reasonable price and easy to place an order, reasonably priced, very flavorful, and very applicable, easy ways of using my spices that you don't have to be a chef. And no, I'm not trying to criticize you in any way because I love chefs and what they come up with. But like I said, my spices are versatile enough that they can be for everyday users, all the way to, the professionals such as chefs that are working in restaurants and hotels and catering companies and even food trucks and things of that nature too.
I know you love chefs, and as a matter of fact, I learned that you're sponsoring this amazing show in Vegas in September. I think it's 75 chefs or so on are going to be showcasing their recipes with your spices. That's absolutely amazing. If you're a listener out there and you live anywhere in the Las Vegas area, you have to come out to the show. Tell us a little bit about when the show is and where.
It's going to be next month, and there's a chef by the name of JB who's been around Vegas for quite some time. So my friend Lee is the proud owner of Rubito's. It's a family-run sausage business. They have their own recipe that's very healthy as well, and then My Spices. And there's going to be up to 75 chefs coming to visit or signing up for the dinner because they're all part of like a chef association. So JB, from what I understand, he's actually creating recipe just like you did with My Spices and with Lee's sausage. And then the other chefs are going to be coming. And then Lee and I, we're the ones sponsoring it. So we're going to get up and talk about ourselves and our products. And then everybody's going to enjoy the dinner and, try out different foods and everything that contain our products. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Like we talked to him probably at least a month or two ago. So in fact, I need to check in with him on that too. So thank you for reminding me because this is a big deal. So
of course. So yeah, it's a super big deal, and I wish I could make it out there.
I know. I invited you. You're doing something really big too. You're going to be filming that show in Colorado.
I will be on a TV show. Yes, I don't know much about when that's going to come out, but I'm happy to be a part of it. But this episode of this podcast will be coming out sometime in the first or second week in September, so it's going to be perfect timing. So if you're listening to this episode, and again, you're going to be visiting the Vegas area or you live in the Vegas area, you have to come down to Lisa's Chef Spice Show. Well, what's the name of it, by the way?
I'll have to take a look at that. I don't know what JB is actually naming it, to be honest with you, because he hasn't sent me the flyer, but I know it's a chef association. I know it's going to be in Vegas and it's going to be on the 24th, but what the actual name of it, I think they have periodic meetings, with the chefs and everything. But you can contact me at 702-969-6460, and then I can give you all the information.
Cool. Well, I'll make sure that we get some of the information in the show notes for you as well. So look down in those show notes, folks, and get your butt out there to this culinary show in Vegas in September. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the business that you're in. I'm fascinated about entrepreneurship and growth. What has been the biggest challenge of running a business, more specifically a spice business?
Because I'm very, very small, it's really only me, to be honest with you at this point in time. But I am growing, and I am looking to expand. I do have a bookkeeper and I do have a web page designer, but overall, I've, pretty much tried to handle everything and just finding, the right target audience, just getting the word out about my spices. Because once people try them, they typically like them and they want to order them, which is good. And I'm very grateful for every customer that's ever ordered any spices from me. Mm-hmm. But, I'm working on, and I don't want to jinx myself because it hasn't happened yet, but I am on the cusp of really expanding into larger markets now. In fact, the retail industry as well. So I'm keeping myself cost for that and also getting some additional distribution set up. And then I'm also making a small change to my formulations in that I'm going to make my spices even more elevated and even healthier. I'm going to be rolling with raw unprocessed sugar instead of the white sugar. In fact, from my co-packer in Colorado, I just got samples in this past week. And so I'm playing around with those to see, if it's going to work for me. And right now I've been very, very pleased because I had a really big presentation at a seafood company yesterday where I used some of the spices that he had sent me, and it went really well. And I went to a sales meeting, and this is in Vegas for this seafood company. And I had 2 different types of hot wings, and all my hot wings were, in all honesty, Nick, was just, like the chicken wings and the olive oil and I doused half of them in chipotle, doused half of them in smoky barbecue. Didn't even really have a recipe per se, and just baked them off in the oven. And then I made my famous pumpkin raisin bread with the dessert spice. And then I also vinaigrette that was very, very simple. It was just seasoned rice vinegar, organic olive oil, and tangy garlic onion on a salad that was just like lettuce, tomato, carrots. And everybody really liked it.
Simple and easy. Absolutely. Yeah. When you have beautiful spice blends like this, you don't necessarily even need a recipe beyond having the protein, the oil, and having the spice. You don't need anything beyond that. That's how simple and easy it is, because it's already done for you. You know, as Lisa said, you just sprinkle it on top of your chicken and stick it in the air fryer, and it's amazing. You know, you don't need anything else about that.
And if you're a chef such as yourself, Nick, I think they dovetail quite nicely with so many other spices too. So it's not like you're making a Spicy Spuds meal. It's still a Nick Elliott meal. You know what I'm saying? So I think that there's been a little bit of reservation there on the part of professionals that, you know, I know that chefs have their reputations and they, you know, have signature dishes that they want to make. I'm here to enhance what you're already doing.
Yeah.
That would be my message to chefs and, you know, people that own restaurants.
Yeah. Well, speaking of my recipes, the next one that I used and absolutely love is this tangy garlic and onion. And I'll tell you what, I've tried 3 or 4 or 5 different recipes, including the one that I'm going to show in just a minute. And I just blown away by the depth of flavor in it. And it does have a little bit of a zip to it, not a spice, but definitely a tang, you know, to it. So amazing on wings, amazing on any protein that you can think of, and you know, mixed up with a little bit of olive oil and vinegar, I could see it making an amazing dressing for a salad as well. So I completely agree. As I was playing around, it's summertime here in Southern California, and I wanted something a little bit fresh and light and easy. So I made a potato salad with the tangy garlic and onion mixture, and it turned out absolutely amazing. I chopped up some fresh herbs and tossed it in there, just little creamer potatoes, some onion and your spice, and some mayonnaise and a little bit of vinegar. And again, it's such an easy recipe to put together. You're going to love it. So we're going to shoot over to that and show you how to make that, and we'll be back in just a minute.
All right, let's give this one a go with, again, some of my favorite ingredients from some of my favorite shops. I found these beautiful tricolor baby potatoes. We got some great fresh chives. We're going to chop these up. Let's boil these potatoes up. Oh yeah, look at how gorgeous that is. Now, once we get these boiled, we're going to go ahead and chop up those chives and really get this herbaceous and delicious. Oh yeah, look at that. Little Kewpie mayo, that's my go-to mayonnaise, and apple cider vinegar from Odds and Ends. Really good stuff. We're going to take that Kewpie mayonnaise, we're going to blend that together with a little bit of, together with some of that great tangy garlic onion spice from Lisa's Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff. Let's throw some bacon bits in there for a little added texture and a little smokiness, and we'll throw a little bit of that apple cider vinegar in there. Salt and pepper to taste, and we'll whisk this up really good. Make sure that all of the ingredients are combined, and we're going to throw this in the fridge for just a little bit to get it chilled and get it a little set up. Now, next thing we're going to do is add those chives inside and mix them up, get that all incorporated, beautiful, and then we will start adding in our potatoes. Can't have potato salad without potatoes, folks, so we'll get that going. And look how gorgeous this is. Beautiful colors. Great summer mix. Take this to your next picnic. You're absolutely going to love it. Don't forget to head over to Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff to pick up your favorite spice blends. Really good. Let's top this off with some scallions, and I can't say enough about this stuff. So delicious.
All right. I hope you all enjoyed that. That one was as much fun to eat as it was to make. So I really hope you try that one at home. Again, super, super easy things. You don't even necessarily need a recipe with these spices because all of the flavor is packed right in. So it's super easy to put in anything. As Lisa mentioned, potatoes, like we just showed you, all different types of proteins. Make a salad dressing out of it. You're absolutely going to love it. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the ingredients in your spices. You were talking a minute ago about moving over to a different type of sugar in there. Where are you sourcing the ingredients that make your spices so amazing?
Great question. One thing I did want to mention though about the tangy garlic onion, I think part of the reason why it does have more of that robust flavor is I insisted on putting some roasted garlic in there.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so that I really wanted to do that. So it has like a not only a depth of flavor, but for the tangy garlic onion, it's also kind of like a little bit chunky, it's
Yep.
not just like a garlic salt, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that was very, very much by design.
It's nice
Got
and
the
chunky
chives
there at the
too.
bottom of the bottle. Yeah, it's definitely whole in there and really, really good.
And so some of the ideas for the tangy garlic onion before I answer your question. So again,
Mhm.
going back to like, the poultry, the fish, the meat and the pork and the beef, and potatoes, like they're really good in mashed potatoes. And then also in
Mhm.
like the potato salad, like you did. Also, of course, on vegetables and French fries. And then it's also really good in a rice pilaf too. But you just have to be sure that you put it in during the cooking process. Like,
Right, right.
because if you put it in after the rice is cooked, it is going to be a little bit grainy and everything.
Yes.
So as long as you put it in with the cooking water and or the broth, you should be fine. And it really does make herbed rice or like rice pilaf, and it definitely elevates the flavor on that as well. But to answer your question, I don't have the exact places where my co-packer gets them, but I do know he brings spices in from all over the country and basically all over the world. So it just depends on where that spice grows the best. And to give you an example, I've been told that Vietnam is actually one of the best places to get
Yeah.
cinnamon, because we just don't have the growing climate for certain things
Of
here
course. Yeah.
in America. So the spices that he can obviously get, from the States, he does. And then he goes abroad to get everything else. And then the other thing that I'm really happy about, that I was really adamant about too, is that they're doing the testing of the spices, like the plate count, when it comes to the bacteria and things of that nature. So they do steam the spices to make sure that there isn't anything harmful in there because they are
Mhm.
grown out in the elements.
Absolutely. So you're taking care of the products from the time they make it into the factory, into the packing plant. So I'm so glad to hear that because it is important. I talk about that a lot when I'm talking about grapes because people talk about additives in grapes and things like that. And I'm worried more about the things that are not added, the things that are not taken away in wine.
Give me an example of what you mean.
Well, what I mean is when the grapes come in from the vineyard, 9 times out of 10, they're not washed. So whatever is in that vineyard is going to be on those grapes and then is going to wind up in the wine.
Wow.
So that is
I did not
why.
know that. And I've been to winemaking facilities before too. I guess I wasn't asking all the right questions.
Well, and don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily a bad thing that doesn't happen because the fermentation process will kill all of the bacteria and things like that during the fermentation process. But you are still left with allergens, pollen, spores, and things like that. So you just never know what's going to wind up in the final production of your wine,
Wow.
which is why sustainable, biodynamic, organic wine growing has become so prevalent in the last 10 to 15, 20 years because people are actually starting to care what's in their food. So I like to make that known about wine, and I try to buy responsibly as well when I'm buying wine.
When it comes to wine, do you trust wines that are made like in Europe more than you trust wines that are made in the US, or is it half a dozen of one, six of another?
I don't know if trust is the right word. I prefer and people are going to hang me for for saying this out loud as a
I hope
Californian.
I didn't bring up a bad question
No,
here.
no, no, not at all. Not at all. I'm happy to answer it. I drink a lot of imported wine, France, Spain, Italy, and so on, because they do tend to carry a lot less additives, allergens, things like that in them.
Because of the GMOs and also because of the pesticides too.
Yeah, there's a kind of a secret in the wine business. There is, of course, organic and sustainable growing, and there are organic and sustainable certifications that you can get, and that are all verified and audited here and there, throughout your time. But 99% of the wineries and vineyards in the States and beyond grow that way anyway.
You mean the way that they do in Europe?
Yeah, exactly. Grow organically anyway. And the only time that they'll introduce pesticides into the vineyards is when they're having a problem that an organic compound cannot get rid of. So knowing that that's kind of industry standard.
Well, that is good to know, and that's reassuring. Yeah. So are they just not certifying their wines as organic just because it would be so costly to do so?
That's exactly right. Yeah, the cost to get certified as organic is pretty exorbitant, and it's not worth it, especially for the smaller growers, because they're going to be presenting their products anyway, in most cases, to the clientele, so they can say, I'm the person who grows this wine. I can tell you that there are no pesticides in this bottle. So that's the way it works in the industry.
I was considering at one point, going all organic too, but I was told it would cost me like $10,000 per spice to do that. And that's just for me, one of the little guys, it's prohibitive for me. And then after talking with my co-packer in Colorado, he said, Lisa, and looking at the organic spices that come in versus the ones that you're getting, the quality is higher for what you're getting, which really kind of surprised me too. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing. And, I have every other certification or qualification, other than organic. So I'm okay with that.
You're eliminating so much with the other processes that your spices are going to be better than anything that you can buy in the store, period. That's what it boils down to. All right, we are going to go to our last recipe here in just a minute, but I need to talk a little bit about this awesomely delicious dessert spice that you've put together. I've got a fun recipe coming up next, but tell us a little bit about how you came up with the dessert spice.
Well, first of all, the name dessert spice is a little bit of a misnomer. And the reason why I say that is because dessert spice is actually one of my most versatile spices. It's not just for desserts. Like I said before, I have to give some of the credit to my customers because, people are telling me that they're putting dessert spice in their coffee. They're folding it into whipped cream. I put it on top of pancakes, waffles, and French toast. It's also very good put on top of yogurt in place of just like maple sugar. And then it's also really good on top of yogurt. It's good on top of certain fresh fruits, baked into anything chocolate. Ice cream tastes better with dessert spice on top. And I've actually had a new customer of mine bake hers into some breads and sweet breads. And then also it's really good in hot or cold chocolate milk or milk alternatives. And any kind of, whether it's coconut milk, rice milk, almond milk, regular milk, you can put some dessert spice in there and it's really good. And then when I make my protein shakes, because I buy this pea protein powder that's from Amazon, that's GMO free and organic and all that, but it doesn't really have any flavor. So I add the coconut milk to it, a little bit of ice, the protein powder, and then I put in like a couple tablespoons of dessert spice, and it really helps to flavor it. And it's a really minimal amount of sugar. In fact, it's a great way of reducing your sugar and your carbs because if you have 1 teaspoon of sugar, Nick, in comparison to a teaspoon of dessert spice, a teaspoon of sugar is going to yield about 15 calories and 4.5 to 5 carbs, whereas 1 teaspoon of dessert spice is going to yield 2 calories and 2 carbs.
Wow.
Then there's also healthier things in there too, like cocoa powder, cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. So it's a very good all-around spice. It's not just great for desserts. I also wanted to mention that putting on pork dessert spice is actually good for that too. So you can
Yeah.
do the oil, and then you could do like a pork roast or something like that.
Let's get
Yeah.
everyone over to your YouTube channel. You have a YouTube channel. I'll make sure that it's down in the show notes as well. And they can see all of the cool recipes that you've created and all of the presentations that you've done, including some of the great things that you've done with the dessert spice. But let's talk about the recipe that I came up with for just a
Absolutely.
second. Another fun one. I decided to do a little play on nachos, where I did a cinnamon swirl dessert nachos with this spice. And it's basically flour tortillas, deep fried in your kitchen. You sprinkle a little bit of the dessert spice on it. And I was playing around with using the apple pie mix out of the can to kind of give it a little bit of extra sweetness on top. But cinnamon swirl nachos with this awesome dessert spice from Spicy Spuds and Other Things. Check out this recipe here, and we'll be back in just a minute.
All right, now it's time to have fun with this dessert spice. It's got flavors of cinnamon, a little nutmeg, some cocoa, really, really good. We're going to start off with those corn tortillas, and we're going to get those deep fried on the stove, or maybe you have a fry daddy. I did not try this one with an air fryer, but you can certainly give that a go if you want to save the calories right there. But we're going to get these corn tortillas fried up nice and golden brown. You can do that right there on your stove top. A little canola oil or even avocado oil, peanut oil if you prefer. Let's get those nice and golden brown. We're going to toss those in a bowl with some of this dessert spice right on top. While the oil's a little wet so it sticks to everything, we'll give it one last coat before we go ahead and toss this in a bowl. And then I'm going to have some fun with these dessert nachos and just pop them in a little bowl. And I'm going to serve those to the family with just a little delicious chocolate sauce from Ghirardelli and some, now I'm from Philadelphia, so in Philadelphia we call them Jimmies. You might know them as sprinkles, but they are called Jimmies, and no one will ever tell me anything different. So please enjoy this one. I hope you enjoyed the demonstration and try this Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff dessert spice delish.
All right, fantastic. Welcome back. And I'm not a big dessert person, but I would eat that 3 days a week. What did you think about that one, Lisa?
Yeah, that was a fantastic idea. And again, it was simple and very luscious and, beautiful. And, thank you so much for your creativity and innovation. I truly appreciate it.
Of course, of course. All right, we're going to wrap things up today with our rapid fire round, our lightning round for you. So a bunch of quick questions coming at you. Just give me the first thing that pops off your head. This is Lisa Maloney, everyone, the founder of Spicy Spuds, and she's just doing amazing things. I can't wait to get this in your kitchen. But right now, let's do a lightning round. Breakfast, sweet or savory, Lisa?
It depends on what mood I'm in. I could go either way. I have a lot of protein things for breakfast, so I would say probably savory, like eggs and, and sausage and maybe some hash browns, that kind of thing.
Yep. Protein's definitely important at the beginning of the day. Your favorite comfort food. Tell us what your favorite comfort food is.
That's a good question. I'm such a foodie. It's hard to narrow it down. It really is. I mean, I like so many different types of food, but the types of food that I'm kind of into right now, I would say I like Cuban food. And then, gosh, but I really like Indian food too, and Thai food. so
all of the above. We'll just say all of the above.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe Greek food would have to be at the top of the list, like kofta and like Greek salad, and baba ganoush and things of that nature. Yes. So I like that kind of stuff.
Love that. Tell us who your dream dinner guest would be, living or past.
I would say my future husband.
I like that. What's his name?
Oh, I don't want to say.
Okay. All right. Good enough. Well, we'll keep him incognito. All right. And lastly, what is the first dish you ever learned to cook?
Gosh, that would be going all the way back to when I was about 10 or 11 years old. And I've been cooking for quite some time. And I think it had apples in it, like some kind of an apple, like an apple cake. Because I got this cookbook for Christmas for kids. And I remember going through it. And I think it was like a little apple cake. that I
Okay.
make. Yes.
All right. I
That's
bet
gonna
that
be
would have been
your-
delicious with your dessert.
Yes, with the
spice in it.
desserts, yes. Oh, and I do have a really good recipe for that on my website too. It's poached apples. So it has the apples in it that are peeled. And I just use that, that crank that you can use to peel apples.
Sure. Yep.
Do it, by hand. And then I also put some raisins in there and then the dessert spice and the water. And then I just cooked it all down. And it's really good. And you can even use that as a sauce if you wanted to thick it up, or you could use it as like a light dessert.
Absolutely.
You
Oh,
would
it
add
sounds
a dollop of
delicious.
whipped cream on there too.
Ooh, and
I love
mix a
whipped
little
cream.
bit of the spice in there too. Most
Yeah.
definitely. Well, Lisa, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today. I really, really appreciate it. I'm loving everything that you're doing. I'm so glad that we were able to meet, and
For
thank you
sure.
for being on Pour and Explore.
That's how I feel about you as well, Nick. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and it's been wonderful getting to know you as well.
All right, fantastic. All right, everyone, we'll catch you on the other side.
Wow, how inspiring is Lisa Maloney? I love what she's doing with Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff. She's doing spices, making spices that are clean, flavorful, and super easy to use. Whether you're a home cook or a professional chef, you got to go try these things out. You're going to find all of her information down there in the show notes. So if you want to support a passionate small business owner who's changing the way we think about salt and spice, make sure to check out Lisa's products and recipes. Again, you'll find it down in the show notes. And it's going to include her YouTube channel, some upcoming events. Hey, if you're in the Vegas area, don't forget to check out this awesome show that she's going to be doing there in Vegas towards the end of September. So please take a peek at that. And of course, you'll be able to get a hold of Lisa directly through social media as well. And hey, if you want to try some of these recipes, like my smoky lime shrimp, the barbecue bean and sausage casserole, or some tangy potato salad, please let me know. Hit me up on social media, and I would be happy to send you those recipes. And we'd love to see your creation. So if you have, we're going to get some Spicy Spuds and Other Stuff, share your recipes with us on our socials. We'd really, really appreciate it. Until next time, everyone, keep your food flavorful, your wine flowing, and as always, keep wondering and wondering. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Pour and Explore. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your stories, and your questions, so you can drop me a line at cheers@thewineguy.vin. That's cheers@thewineguy.vin. Or let's connect on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Grab those links on my website at thewineguy.vin. Until next time, let's keep wondering and wandering. Cheers, everyone.